There he is.
Hey, George.
Tim, you groomed for the winter? I haven't seen you with facial hair.
Yeah, it takes me a few months to grow it out.
Got it. I can't blame you. It's cold up
Yeah.
there. Let me step away for a second.
Yeah, man. Do what you gotta do.
So, Tim, when do you break for Christmas? You
I've got till next I got through next Friday.
okay? Not too
Yeah.
bad. You gonna stay there? You gonna travel?
Travel, mother's down around St. Louis, father's here local. Her grandma, my wife's grandma is down a little farther south, Illinois, Southern Illinois.
Okay.
What about
Same,
yourself?
right there. I
Yeah.
am staying here in Columbia for Christmas, and then New Year's. I've got a little trip I'm taking to the Caribbean on a little boat. About
Yeah.
3,000 people.
Very nice.
Yeah, so I'll get out of any cold weather we have in this area.
Mm.
Great. So I'm just waiting on a couple more people.
Hey, what's going
Yeah.
on, everybody?
Say hey, everybody.
Yeah.
Hi.
Most of these are Columbia, not Columbia, but South Carolinians. There's one or two North Carolinians on the call, and
Hello, everyone.
so all down here in South. So I
I'm
just,
here. This is Patty.
oh, hey, Patty. I didn't
How's it
recognize
going?
you.
Dennis said he's gonna try to get in. He has a meeting that popped up. He was here for a minute. I thought it started at 4, so I've been sitting here kind of just waiting for others to get on, and Dennis popped up
Oh
for a
no.
minute.
Okay.
And he's gonna try to get back on the call.
Okay. Uh, there might be, this is pretty much the core group. Let me think. Yeah. Anyway, can you hear me okay?
Mike. Yeah.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
All right, good. Well, I just might as well get started. I'm gonna introduce Tim. I'm gonna talk a little bit about housekeeping, and then we just kind of get into the thing. So I guess the first thing I'd like to do is introduce Tim, and then let him say a few words, and I'd like to do a little housekeeping, mic mute and all that, to so it flows nice and smoothly. But anyway, uh, Tim is a teacher during the day, and at night he puts on some crypto capper and becomes a Bitcoiner. So I first met him, or I was introduced to him with an article he'd written for Bitcoin Magazine, Helicopter Parents and Snowflake Children. Um, Something from a Bitcoin teaching from a Bitcoin teacher perspective, something like that. And then so I've reached out and we've been talking ever since then. That was a year or so ago. And then he introduced me to his book, History Echoes Bitcoin. And so, and his latest gig is with contract writing um, for various companies. He didn't talk about that. But so I just wanted to just say thank you for being with us today. I know it's hard for you it's hard for you to join us on Fridays for 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard because you're teaching normally. That being said, we're glad we could adjust this to the latter part of the day. And let me just say I wanted to just a few things about mute our microphones. I don't need to mute your microphone. And then if you want to say something, please know that this is an open forum like it normally is on Fridays. And so if you got something to say, pipe in and say it. And then all I will say is this: I've got this recorded, and we're going to put it on YouTube, and so you will be able to re-engage it or send it, or if we tidy it up and make it presentable. So hopefully that'll be what we get out of here. And then I just want to say that we're here to let Tim teach us, and we don't necessarily need to be teaching Tim anything today. That's another time. So, with that being said, Tim, I'm going to let you take the floor and just say hey, and then we'll get into the first question, which is, and let me just preface it one quick second. We got this because we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago in the Friday call when we spoke about Bitcoin mining and some language and some lingo, and some others wanted to do a little bit deeper dive into Bitcoin mining, and that's what generated this call and me asking if you join us. So, with that being said, I'm going to let you jump into it, and then maybe just go right into why are we Bitcoin mining, what's it all about, and we'll get into some questions. Okay, so you good with that?
That's pretty good. And thank you for the introduction, George. And thank you all for your time. I will disagree with George right off the bat. I can learn just as much as anybody else. I mean, teachers are lifelong learners. So if there's anything that you want to share with me that I may be wrong on or a misconception, please, it's got to be collaborative. That's how we all learn best. So that being said, George, we were talking about Bitcoin mining, and you were mentioning some lingo, and I'm kind of interested in what specific lingo you were saying, what you were asking about.
Okay, so I think it was maybe Patrick that maybe brought some language up that I wasn't familiar with. The two that I'm not, but I really don't know what a hash rate is. I don't quite understand that. And there's also this block space, which,
Yeah.
it's kind of a
Okay.
couple of words that I don't really uh, understand. But anyway, those are
Yeah.
kind of some words, and that kind of got us into a little rabbit hole. And let's go just further down that rabbit hole.
Sure. Well, very simply, hash rate is rate of hash, and a hash is, in simple terms, just computer usage. We're trying to solve a problem with proof of work, and every time a computer hashes, they're trying to solve that problem. So the more hashes there are, you have a greater rate of hash, and that's simply hash rate. So you could just think of it as the amount of computing power running the network. All right. And you can see that chart that it just is exponentially going up. And we can get into more of the technicals if you'd like, but just to say that, and then you also said block space. So as you know, in Bitcoin blocks, every 10 minutes on a blockchain, every 10 minutes we process all the transactions. Inside each block, it's limited. So if you think of it like the Bitcoin blockchain as a train, well, each block is a car, and inside each car is a limited number of seats. That's the block space. So you can only fit so much information. I don't know what. You guys seeing that too?
No, it's snowing.
I had
You're getting fireworks. You're
AI
getting fireworks.
fireworks go off. I don't know. Did I just say a good answer? That's awesome.
Obviously, you're brilliant.
That's the first time that's ever happened. I got to figure out how to do that.
Somebody said
I'm gonna
that.
try and hack in on my phone and hack into my phone and have that show up every time my wife calls me or something. I don't know. Hey, there we got some thumbs up. All right. So the block space, therefore, is just that space in each block, and it's limited, and that limited nature is what gives it value, right? Because if you want to get your transaction processed, then you're going to be willing to pay a greater transaction fee, or on the other side, miners, they're trying to get that block, and so and that's where we get into templates and all this other stuff that goes down a huge other rabbit hole. So we got block space, we got hash rate, but we can keep going on the what of Bitcoin, or the how of Bitcoin. But to me, the more important thing to understand is the why. Why are we Bitcoin mining? Why are we using proof of work?
Mm-hmm.
And if I could boil it down to a simple word, fairness. I also wrote an article for Bitcoin Magazine a long time ago.
Am I freezing? Is Tim frozen?
Basically,
Yeah. He's gonna have to repeat.
Yeah.
Bitcoin. I see Patrick's frozen and Keith was frozen, but okay, I can start over.
Yes.
Yeah, you were frozen right when you started on fairness.
Nope.
Oh.
You're muted now.
No, I was just talking to my
Oh,
family.
okay.
Okay, so we can start over. To me, when you talk about the why of Bitcoin, it always comes down to fairness. And I wrote an article for Bitcoin Magazine a while back that kind of analogized Bitcoin as a game. And if you think about, like, my favorite sport is baseball. And if you think about our current system, the certain, maybe not all legislators, but legislators have the ability, or people in charge of the system, let's say, have the ability to not only play the game, but call the shots and even change the rules. And in any game, that's not quite fair, right?
Right.
Shouldn't we all be playing a game to where we're all following the same set of rules that cannot be changed and are enforced fairly? So we could come up with Bitcoin. Satoshi comes up with Bitcoin, uses proof of work, and the proof of work, that expenditure of energy and resources, keeps the rules, keeps them set, keeps them followed, keeps them enforced, and also keeps the scorecard, right? Because when you think of the blockchain, what is it? It's a ledger. It's a ledger of all of our transactions. So we need to have proof of work. We need to have hash rate and block space as concepts that we use in order to ensure that fairness. So you can contrast that versus fiat, like I mentioned earlier, or even proof of stake, where whoever has the most stake gets to make the rules. That sounds very similar to fiat to me. So I'm going to pause there. That makes sense? Or if there's questions or pushback or anything, please feel free.
Anybody?
Makes sense so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I be a little bit more simple? Okay, so how much can I make? And can I just buy like a little Bitcoin miner on eBay? And how much would I make with that?
That's not as simple of a question. Yes, you can go on, and you can add to the hash rate. You would probably end up joining a pool, and you would be getting paid a certain amount, because if you think about the algorithm and the Bitcoin block or mining as is, it's kind of like a lottery every 10 minutes. It's a lottery every 10 minutes, and because every 10-minute block gets solved by one person, one miner only. And the more hash rate you have, the greater chance you have of solving this. Think of it like Powerball.
And
right?
I want you to, that is extremely important to the latter part of the conversation. The more hash rate you have, the more likely it is that your transaction will get completed. Is that
Right. So what's a high hash rate then?
hold on. Let me differentiate two things there. One, a higher hash rate implies that you have a greater chance of earning the transaction. So you're thinking from the miners, and you're also saying from the getting to control what goes into the block. And there's a lot more nuance in that we could get into. But yes, what was your question? I'm sorry, Mike.
What is what is the highest what is the highest hash rate? Let's go from the lowest hash rate to the highest hash rate that you've seen or that you know of.
Okay, so I'm going to go to is it hash rate index? Hashrateindex.com is great. And if you want me to, I don't know if I can share my screen. Can I try that, George?
Yeah, let me give me a second. Let me see if I can do it.
Let me see if I can do it here myself.
You might be able to.
You guys see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
So as it is right now, Foundry has 36% of the distributed pool. You can see reported versus like their hash rate, Foundry, Ant Pool, via BTC, F2 Pool. Those are the main ones. George mentioned I freelance content create. I content create for Mara right now, and they've just gotten over 5.6. They just reached over 50 exahash, which is pretty awesome. It says in here 45.6, but slide or something. But basically over 50. So you see the highest one is like over 250 exahash, right? The whole hash rate pool or the entire amount of hash rate is over 750 exahash. And how you get paid, the payment method differs also. So if you're joining a pool, you're either going to get a portion of whatever they mine, or you're going to just get a set rate per how much hash rate you're adding to the pool, right? So home miners, yes, but I'm going to stop there with that.
Yeah.
Mike, I think the question more important is, what do you pay per kilowatt hour at your residence? And if it's over 12 cents kilowatt, and then there's really no
You're
reason to be
paddling
doing that.
backwards.
Because another yeah, another big thing that doesn't really get talked about enough yet is that Bitcoin miners, because it is a free market and because they're, it's straight up capitalism, we're trying to find the cheapest source of energy, which implies like renewable resources, right? If you can get a renewable resource to power your Bitcoin miner, then you're getting closer to zero cost, right? Obviously, the cost of infrastructure and whatever else, but the power costs, the lower you get it, the more profitable you can be, right?
Yep.
So what you're seeing is, like, for example, I can speak about Mara. They capture flare gas, and that powers mines down in, I believe, Texas. So you're pulling methane out of the air. You're using that energy, converting it. I just bought a renewable wind farm in West Texas, or North Texas, that is, I'm sorry. And they're bringing old miners that aren't really profitable anymore back online through the wind generation. So it's searching for cheaper energy. There's also other externalities or second order effects that Bitcoin mining has, like it has a lot of heat output. So in Finland, there's an entire town in Finland that is now through Mara getting their heating, district heating, from the excess heat from the miners.
Wow. That's amazing.
I mean,
that doesn't make the news a lot.
No, it doesn't. But there's so many of these really cool ideas that are coming. I even did a piece, not from Mara, but wrote about somewhere in Wyoming, I want to say. This guy he runs a truck stop car wash, right? And you got to think up there, it gets really cold and the floors get icy. So he has to heat the floors. He started putting Bitcoin miners in there. He went from, I'm going to fudge the numbers a little bit, make it simple, but he went from paying like 25 cents megawatt, I want to say, to making 25 cents a megawatt just by putting Bitcoin miners in and using the heat to heat into his floor to keep it from icing and heating the water and all of that. I mean, so I'm getting off track. I want to get back to your point about the price. You got to keep that price down, the input prices, and the way that it's really doing it is through that renewable resources.
So let me jump in here one
Sorry, I
quick
was getting off
second.
tangent.
And no, that's fine because
Sure.
to that point, in South Carolina, we don't have the ability to go behind the meter and generate energy or power that we can consume. So in South Carolina, we have to send all the energy produced back to the power company. Then they will send us power at a reduced rate anyway, that's kind of how
Credit. You get a credit.
yeah, thank you,
Okay,
credit. And
well, go ahead.
I'm just so basically your zip code determines who your power company is. And so, you know, that could be a number of different, but the big players in South Carolina, Dominion and Duke, and one called Santee Cooper Power
Well,
Company. Yeah. So they're
if I can add something to that real quick. In Texas, in ERCOT, for their power, there's also the whole demand response concept where it actually the Bitcoin miners sign a contract with power companies. They buy up all the excess energy created. So you need to create a certain amount of power to handle all the peaks, right? But power isn't on all day. Power goes up and down throughout the day. So when the usage goes down and they're still needing to maintain up here for any peaks, Bitcoin miners can turn on and off really quick within minutes and buy up all of that energy. And then when the power comes back, the power needs come back, they turn off. And what happens is that lowers the price for the residents, right? Power companies can now build out more so they don't have any brownouts, blackouts. Bitcoin miners get to run their machines while the power is not being used by the locals, and then the locals get a lower price. So there's
I
that
think
also.
that's important. I mean, that's significant. And I don't think that narrative gets played up a lot. I hear it, but I've
No.
not, you hear it,
Doesn't.
but it just doesn't make a lot of sense to some people. So,
Well, it sounds like it takes a lot of coordination, and our utilities are lazy and they don't want to have to do that. But ERCOT is in an unregulated area. So those unregulated energy providers are more creative, is what I think.
Yeah, 100%. Patrick, I see you got your hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna go back to Mike's question real quick. How much can I make? Mike, there's a basic formula that's out there since it's really just it's a question of statistics. And you take your hash rate, which you've got 80 kilohertz per second, and you relate that basically to what the market is, the entire market. Right now, I think it's 776 or something, a lot more than that. But it's really just an expected, value. I can give you that formula if you want. Your probability is going to be super low with that machine. With that kind of machine is what's called a scratch off. You're basically going to run it, and if you hit it, it makes more sense to just run that one by its own, not join a pool or anything like that because it's got such small processing power. This year, two have hit, the scratch offs have hit. So you've got one little miner that's won a whole block. And a block right now is, as you know, 3.125 Bitcoin plus any fees. So at today's price, that's 300K plus on one of these little scratch offs. But theoretically, they should only hit like every 1,000 years or so. But I can give you the formula if you want to see the expected value is.
All right, great. Let me
And
that utilization. Anybody else want to join in for a second, or let me just speak about that utilization of wind power to be able to
that I'm going to
power.
put in the chat. There's a
um,
calculator.
okay, um, that ability to use the wind power behind the meter to run the older units that are less efficient is a great idea, but I don't see it happening in South Carolina or the Southeast for that matter, where we're all regulated utilities. So, and it's a very difficult sell to try and get our legislators to move off of the current regulated environment that these um, power companies are in, because I mean, they just basically run the show. So anyway, it's too bad because that would be a nice market to have as well. Yeah, I don't know how that we've got. Let me just bring this up. There are two data centers coming to South Carolina. They've worked a rate with the local power companies. One's coming to Charleston area, and the other one's coming to the Aiken area. So we do have them coming into South Carolina, but the big discussion is how are we going to build out the infrastructure to be able to support communities and a large data center that comes into the area? And the answer is we're going to pay for it. So let me just also I got a little bit of a glitch here on the timing. So I extended the call a little while ago. I think we've got some more room. I think we have 80 minutes. So if I think it's because we started the call at 4, Jordan, which is it's not a big deal, but I think we actually started at 4:30. So it may be that this thing stops at 5:10. So I'm just giving us a heads up that, and I don't get to extend it again. So it's okay. It's not a big problem, but I just wanted to, if all of a sudden we get cut off, sorry. All right. Somebody else got something.
As far as like Bitcoin mining,
Yeah. Or,
Yes.
I think I think of other questions. I'm not worried about like mining because I'm not doing it myself, but I have like deeper questions when you have just you see on the hash rate website how it's just like two countries dominating the mining pool right now. And like what would happen if like China and America don't always get along. What if one of the country or the other was like, what's hard fork? And half of that mining power tried to hard fork to like some new kind of Bitcoin and the rest. And this is a huge part of the network now. We got that's a lot of hash power. Like I'm just what do you think would happen?
I think didn't
Like a 51% attack or a 4.
oh, sorry,
Not
Tim.
even not even necessarily a 51% attack. Yeah, I mean, definitely I feel like the vulnerability
Just saying 4.
would highly increase in that moment, but at the same time, there's so much new hash rate going to some new hard fork, what kind of
So,
implication does that put to the network?
okay, so first things first, I would go back and there's a book from a few years ago called The Block Size War by Jonathan Beer.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. It goes
I've read
back.
that, but I've heard of it.
It's a great book, and it really just documents that whole 2014 to 17 timeframe when the miners who had the perceived power tried to take over the network and make it like a glorified PayPal, let's say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what we found out from that whole thing is that the nodes have the power because they're the enforcers of this system. And the thought is that, let's say China does that, splits off, we have a new chain, China chain, right? And they have more hash rate. So, miners are going to want to point over this way, right? Well, you also have to remember that the nodes, what is China going to do to the code, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to make it more free?
Just
Are they
increase the
going to,
block size, just
they're
whatever.
going to increase the block size. So what's that going to do?
Yeah, make faster transactions, make it more vulnerable,
And we go back to block space, it's going to make that less valuable, right? They're going to shoot themselves in the foot is what I'm getting to, because the incentives of the current Bitcoin blockchain, not blockchain, but the current protocol are as such that the incentives are aligned to where people don't want to change it. They don't want to increase the block size because of changes in the value of the blockchain. They don't want to change the supply cap because that'll make their coins worth less, right? The reason, one of the main reasons Bitcoin has this value is because it is a very simple code in terms of just that protocol, and all the incentives feed back into that. So in this scenario where China coin comes, they're not going to make it more free. They're going to make it less free. They're going to make it more authoritatively controlled, however they want
You
to,
kind of
right?
just highlight why I got.
And will the participants, yeah, will the node runners, will the people who are participating want to follow that chain, right? And if they increase the block size, yeah, I mean, I think there's so many negative consequences of doing that, and we've seen time and time again from forks that the incentives aren't there. I'm sorry, I don't know if that answered your question,
Oh,
but
I think it was 100% kind of where I was headed and kind of what I was thinking too. But you have way more experience, than I do. So I'm like putting out there kind of just, creating thoughts.
yeah,
But
yeah, no, yeah,
I'm
go
huge
ahead.
on nodes too, and it makes me believe in the nodes too. So the power is all going to be there, but the reality is where the node's going to go because that's the information as well. Uh,
Yeah, they'll sell off those coins. Uh, Prices will go
I've been
down.
telling people for like a
That's
simple node, the Umbrel. Like, do you know any other other simple like plug and play nodes? Umbrel
there's
does a lot.
there's a ton of them. I personally have an Umbrel. I like it. I like it just fine. I mean, I remember I started with the whole Raspberry Pi and setting it
Yeah,
all up
that's how
myself
I
and
have it set
everything.
up, and
And
then
then
I want to get an Umbrel.
yeah,
Yeah,
after a few years, I got that plug and play. That makes it a lot better. I'm not as techie as I'd like to be. I'm not a coder. I'm not a
same way.
shadowy super coder. So
Same here. I feel like I can do everything but type the code.
So the words
yeah,
that you're using, Umbrel, Raspberry Pi, plug and play, what is that? That is code for,
a node,
one more time?
Node.
A node. Oh, okay. Because you want to do Bitcoin mining. You have that.
Oh, so there's in any game. Well, I don't want to use a game analogy. So the miners. So let me break it down a little bit.
Okay.
So two essential components: mining, nodes. The miners secure the Bitcoin blockchain, and a mechanism in which new coins enter the market, right? So every 10 minutes they mine, right? At a high level, mining is the process of like assembling transactions into blocks and connecting them to previous blocks. So miners are viewed as the builders of the blockchain, and the nodes, they're the inspectors. They're the ones who verify the work done by the miners.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And then going back to that game analogy, it's like if people who are doing the work aren't doing it the right way, then the refs come in and change, make a call. It's kind of like that dynamic.
Gotcha. And the Umbrel
No,
is a
all right.
mining.
Umbrel is just a company that creates the node, like just all in one box. So you and I don't have to be coders and create our own and like assemble our own computer.
Mm-hmm. You just buy a computer.
Therefore, plug and play.
Plug and play, yeah.
Plug it into your electric, plug it into your internet, turn it on. I guess you have to sign up with
And then
but anyway.
you're
Yeah.
verifying the blocks. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
I could curate a list for you of all the top ones. including Umbrel, if you'd like, and send it to you.
Not for me personally, but I was trying to write them down just so I could look back and just trying to understand everything.
So we got a few minutes left, but I thought we might talk about Bitcoin as part of the Federal Reserve, as one issue, and then why we want to keep more miners in the United States than the rest of the world, so to speak. And so, if you want to take either one of those, is that okay with y'all? You good with all that? Especially
I like the second question.
Yeah, let's start with a second question. And it kind of goes to Jordan's point about hash rate and block space. So block space is limited. And if I did control a much larger percentage of the block space, you could get to a situation where you can select what transactions, you can prioritize which transactions go into each block, right? And you'll see that with people putting NFTs or minting NFTs on the Bitcoin blockchain, because there's more information in that transaction. It takes up more virtual space inside the block, and therefore there's going to be more of they'll earn more dollars. The miners will earn more money on those larger transactions, right? So going back to the nation state situation, more block space or having more hash rate equals you have more of a chance to select what goes into each block, which brings up that whole template conversation that my apologies, my dog is wanting to join in here. She thinks she has something to say. Sorry about that. I don't know if that was clear. I kind of jumped around. Let's stop there for a second. Any clarifications needed?
So somebody's sitting at a computer and they are able to choose which block they're going to work on?
Yes and no. It's not really somebody sitting at a computer. They have a template. They have a set of parameters for what they're going to pull out of the mempool. Mempool being the space where all of the UTXOs, unspent transactions, are held before they go into into a block, before they become propagated. So some companies might want to prioritize, for example, NFTs being minted, because then they can juice more the transaction fees, right? So if I'm minting an NFT, I'm actually paying more to get it into the blockchain because it's got more data in it, right? That's why the small blocks are important. That's why we don't want to increase block size, because then it makes it less economical for everyday people to run nodes, because then they'll need supercomputers. And that's the whole, what Ethereum ran into, just wanting to expand. And that's why they kind of had to move to proof of stake, because anyway, I'm getting off track. Sorry, George. The Maxi in me is coming out. I'm trying my best.
You pro ordinal?
I am ordinal agnostic. Ordinal, it's so sats, Bitcoin's fungible, right? Like one for one, it doesn't matter. So ordinals are just arbitrarily putting a number to each sat. So to me, will it cause more use cases? Sure. And I'm pro that. I truly believe anything and everything's good for Bitcoin. I truly believe it's anti-fragile, meaning that it doesn't just it doesn't resist attack, but it actually becomes stronger through attacks, right? And I'm about as libertarian as they come, so it's like, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money. Now, on the other side of that, I also do see the other aspect of, Guy Swan said it best, like, you don't want to poop in the park. Like, if we're really using Bitcoin for money, and it's supposed to be the perfect money, then why would we want to go and like vandalize our ledger, like spray painting up and down our ledger, right? Up and down our park. Don't poop in the park. There's an episode.
It's not even great artwork either.
Right.
You want
All perspective.
Why don't we wrap it up with a quick Greek, or what is your take on the idea of this Loomis bill creating a Bitcoin and putting the Bitcoin Federal Reserve to help. We have an oil reserve, we have a gold reserve. Is Bitcoin reserve? Is it? I've
I
heard
mean,
people thinking they don't think much will happen with that bill, but there's also some other traction in the rest of some of the other people from Congress. But go ahead
oh,
if you want to take a stab at that.
the
Hang on, Tim. Start over.
bill.
Nah. Y'all having trouble
Yeah,
with
I
him?
mean, and I could go all over. The FOMO is real. There are multiple. How about now?
How about
Yeah,
now, folks?
I heard the
I
FOMO is
wonder. I've
real.
I've been in calls where if if other, I think if I've been in calls where there cameras that pull that opens up some space. I don't know if you want to do that. Want to try that?
Uh,
Well,
You
nope.
guys catch any of that?
no,
I don't. I didn't
it's
follow
like
that.
in and out. I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, but take a stab and maybe come closer to your microphone. That might help a little bit. I don't know. Just we're, now I think Tim's frozen again. Dang it.
Oh,
Okay.
maybe it's the windy weather.
Hold on.
There you go.
I saw
He's
Snoopy.
gonna get closer to his router.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Does that help?
Yep. It's
Yes,
perfect.
you can hear.
Okay, sorry about that. All right. So nation state adoption. FOMO is real. There are multiple nation states looking. There are multiple corporations who are looking into it. Microsoft just had a vote on their board. They voted no this time, but they actually had put in a presentation, at least a 3-minute presentation, uh, to the board by Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy. That's open to all companies. There's companies all over the world starting to go. We already have a couple nations that own Bitcoin on their balance sheet. There's even discussion, like you said, of flipping gold or selling some gold to buy, and that got the gold bugs mad. Let me tell you something. And then there's even the thought like the real FOMO begins when nation states start printing their own currency to buy more, which has not happened yet, but the discussions have been that has been theorized for years, and there's even been some rumblings of discussion. So,
Oh,
yes, I mean, both United States and China. United States is just over 200,000, I want to say. China's just under 200,000
Right.
Bitcoin on their feet through seizures. Bhutan, the country of Bhutan's been mining. Obviously, El Salvador is mining. They're using volcanoes. Bhutan's using, I believe, mostly hydroelectric, so their cost is next to nothing. I don't know how, but Ukraine has tens of thousands of Bitcoin. You can theorize about that all you want. I'll stop there. Um,
That's hilarious.
I'm going to get myself in trouble here. Let me keep focusing. Um, so you got all these countries now considering it. Russia is talking about doing it. China's flipped back to saying it's now legal. Um, and then all of a sudden, Germany sells off their share, which is kind of crazy. But then you have the corporations. You have MicroStrategy. You have um, now multiple companies, not just buying it, but other large corporations now starting to discuss it and considering it. And there's a lot of shareholders that were unhappy with Microsoft who said they voted yes. And so that's not going away.
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you think I've heard that day one when Trump's sworn into office, he's going to sign an executive order that will stop the selling of the seized Bitcoin. Have you heard that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Anybody else
those
heard
coins
that?
are easily transferable. That I mean, that's just a quick transaction, easily transferable to the reserve. That's been the thought in those camps is the first coins we have come from our or not strategic reserves, sorry, the
Yeah.
confiscated coins.
Now,
Um,
did they not just send some to Coinbase? Like,
so that's the U.S. Marshals thing.
okay.
They can just moving it to Coinbase, with Coinbase being that custodian, that doesn't necessarily mean selling. They can just be restructuring. They can be sent. We don't know that. So when people see coins move to an exchange, the first thought is, oh, they're going to sell it, but that doesn't automatically mean that.
Okay.
There's some other restructuring going on.
Anybody else got anything? Because I'm going to wrap this thing up, and we're it's probably going to be shortly that it ends on its own. Anybody want to throw anything
I
out?
can talk forever. Yeah, I'm just know the clock's gonna run out.
Hey,
No,
I'm happy to keep talking if you want to re-up another one for a little bit. So
oh
otherwise,
my hell no!
Yeah.
Our cocktail hour just started.
oh yeah, you're an hour ahead of me. I'm sorry. I get it.
Yeah, do it again another time. You know, we do this all the time. We're building better groups. We have more people next time. I feel like a lot of people, you know, we're getting a lot of people who are interested in this. They're just, you know, maybe one reason or another can't be here today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So fascinating conversation. I thank you so much, Tim. Now, what we
Thank
would
you.
like to do is sort of follow you, and where would you put your articles? What's the best way to sort of link in with you? Do you want us to do LinkedIn or X, or how do you want to do it?
Um, I post if I post it's to X. LinkedIn is I'm on it. I don't really post to that. I also have Lincoln. I also co-host Lincoln Land Bitcoin here, Bitcoin meetup here in Springfield, Illinois. I have a Facebook group and also a Twitter account for that. So there's multiple ways. I don't do too much posting. I'll do a lot of reposting, but I don't get caught in Twitter. I'm too busy
Yeah,
writing, content
excellent.
creating, elsewhere.
All
But
right.
yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you guys.
Thank you,
Feel
Tim.
free to reach out. Anything. I enjoyed. We're all in this together.
Yeah,
We're
I
all
just
trying to
followed you
build
on
it.
Twitter.
Thanks,
That's
man.
the only
I'll
thing I
follow
have
you
on social media.
That's okay. So the rest of you will be getting your email for the call on Friday, in which case we're going to recap some of this and do a few other things. Patty and Aaron are going to update us on the market. I saw today where it looked like Bitcoin went back to 100,000. So
Yeah.
exciting.
We hit 101.5.
Say that again.
The high for today is 101,888. So yeah, heading back up.
Man. All right, y'all. Have a great day, and let's go. You
Good
know,
conversation. See you
thank
guys
you.
on Friday.
Yeah, see y'all
Thank you
Friday.
guys.
Thank y'all.